So a big question that I want to put out there to all of you is, who is the greatest Call of Duty player of all time? And obviously at this point in time, guys, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, obviously, but right here, right now, who in your guys' opinion is the greatest COD player ever? And I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on this, and I would love to have a real conversation about it in the comment section down below. So let's talk about it. The best Call of Duty player, when we talk about this, typically we are going to have to talk about players that, played from a very high level, played in the Call of Duty League or the Call of Duty World League. People who have a winning formula where they were consistently winning game over game or, year over year, and were always either competitive or just winning championships. And that list, it's a short list, right? But the individual that stands at the top of that echelon is Ian Crimsix Porter. This is a guy who won the most world championships. Really, just in my mind, when I look at the stats, you look at everything, just, the winningest Call of Duty player in history, before the CDL, that being the Call of Duty League. Of course, there was the Call of Duty World League. All of those things, this guy has been winning at every level. He won in the Call of Duty World League, won in the Call of Duty League, and has, just the most rings unbelievable what this guy has accomplished over the course of his career. Now, obviously, he is retired from professional Call of Duty. He is now playing sim racing at a very high level now, but I just feel that Crimsix had this winning formula that he felt very Jordan-esque from a Call of Duty perspective. And the reason being is because obviously Michael Jordan, a lot of people argue that he is the greatest basketball player of all time. And, this is Jordan being one of those guys who would fuel his teammates, but he had a very different way of, being a teammate, but being completely and utterly focused on the task at hand, which was winning games and winning, of course, in the biggest moments, the biggest spots, that being in the NBA Finals. He was just dominant and he brought out the best performances out of his teammates. Now, the way he did that, a lot of people argue that he was not a good teammate, that he would crush his teammates in a number of ways, that he wasn't, he just wasn't a good person, wasn't a good teammate, things of that nature. I look at Crimsix and I say, not that he's not a good person, but when it came from a competitive perspective, he was a killer when it came to this in terms of getting and bringing great performances out of his teammates. Now, when it transitioned from the Call of Duty World League to the Call of Duty League, you could say that the Call of Duty League, got soft in a number of areas because increased salaries and all these different things. And so that winning formula wasn't necessarily there for a lot of them, but the old guard, that being Crimsix, Aches, these other guys who really helped build Call of Duty to where it is now, especially the Call of Duty, esports scene. Crimsix had a way of getting performances out of his players and out of his teammates, but also leading by example and just dominating in a number of ways, whether it was with the Dallas Empire or with Complexity or with Optic. It didn't really matter what team it was he was with. He would win. Reminds me of LeBron, winning with every team that he was on, just crushing it. And even when he was near the very end of his career with the New York Subliners, they still were competitive, even when they were, to a lot of people, they weren't going to go far at all at COD Champs and at a lot of these different events, and they were competitive. They surprised so many people, and I really feel that Crimsix, it was, he has a different form of leadership. Like I said, a Jordan-esque type of leadership to every team that he was on, and that formula was winning, and that business was winning, and that was it. And so I just felt that Crimsix, will be missed for sure in the Call of Duty scene, in the Call of Duty community in a major way. Will we have players like him in the future? It's possible, definitely. I'm sure he's not the last kind of player out there that is going to use different ways of fueling his teammates and, at times crushing his teammates and things of that nature, and holding himself accountable as well. I think we will see people like that. And it's hard to say whether, the guys over at Atlanta FaZe, if those guys are have this kind of that type of mentality as well, almost like a Mamba mentality. Or, maybe the guys over at the New York Subliners now have a little bit more of that mindset. It's hard to say, but Crimsix just did it game over game, team over team, just consistently being competitive and winning at the highest level of Call of Duty over and over again. And to me, he is without question the greatest Call of Duty player of all time. If you wanted to say the other guys who are up there, definitely Karma. Karma is an incredible player. You could say Formal. You could say Clayster. There is definitely a list of players that you could say are definitely up there with Crimsix. But I would say the Crimsix, in my mind, right here, right now, stands above everybody else, and it's not even close. But let me know, who do you guys think is the greatest Call of Duty player of all time? I'd love to have a real conversation about this. Let's talk about it, guys. Let me know what you all think.